Hi students, Mrs. Gaunt here again to talk about measuring length. So length, we use rulers to measure length, and you want to use the size of ruler that makes sense for the thing you're measuring. I would use this if I was measuring something, small enough for me to carry around. I would use a meter stick if I was measuring something longer. If I was measuring someone's height, much easier to use a meter stick. Also, you probably have access to these tape measures. These are really handy. You just have to make sure that when you're measuring something, it's lined up nicely, which is key to any kind of accurate measurement for length. So let's talk about that a second. A couple of things to remember. No matter what tool you're using, no matter what science tool you're using to measure, they always have the units on them. So you can see over here by my finger, it says centimeters. So it's telling you that these number marks on my ruler are all centimeters. And you can also see that between the centimeter lines, there's some tiny little lines. The cool thing about the metric system is that while the bigger numbers are centimeters, those tiny little marks represent millimeters. So I could look at something and give you both the millimeter measurement and the centimeter measurement. And it allows us to be very precise. So I'm going to start by measuring, I think I'm going to measure this box first, just to give us something straight and flat and not squishy that we can measure. And I'm going to use the centimeter side, not the inches side of my ruler. But I want to point out that, and look really closely, 0 is the first mark on my ruler. It is not the edge of my ruler. So when I'm measuring something, it's not correct to line up the edge of my ruler with the thing I'm measuring. I need to move it so that the edge of the thing I'm measuring actually lines up with the 0 mark. And the best way to see that is to look down on it. So if I were working on my own, I would have the ruler on the box and I would be looking down at it to make sure that it's lined up correctly. I'm going to show it this way though so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, so if I was going to measure the edge of the box, first thing I do is figure out the 0 mark and get it lined up with the edge of my box. Again, I'm going to look down on it so I can see kind of past my ruler to see where the box is behind it. And then I also want to make sure that this edge of my ruler is lined up very nicely with the edge of the box, because if I had it off even a little bit, it's going to change my measurement. So I'm going to use what's there, the straight edge of the box, to help me make an accurate measurement. All right, so let me get my pointer here, and I have 0 on this end, so I'm going to keep it straight. I'm going to come to the other side and read what it says. It says, let me line it up again because it's slipping. That's the thing about measuring. You don't want to be fast, you want to be accurate. And I'm going to actually line it up under the lip of this box because it seems to be giving me a little bit of trouble. All right, I'm still lining it up with something that's straight, but now I'm lining it up with this edge of the box that's overhanging. And I can see that the edge of my box lines up very nicely with 29, with the number for 29. So my box is 29 centimeters long. And you noticed when I measured it that the edge of the box lined up right with that line. It won't always do that. It might line up in between the 2 centimeter marks. But this case it was right at 29. And I tell people that it was right at 29 by saying the measurement was 29.0 centimeters. Since I add the 0.0, it means it was right on the line. So if your measurement is right on one of the lines, then you tell people that by saying it was 12.0 or 15.0 to tell people that it was right on the line. All right, let's measure something else that's not going to give us a straight measurement that's right on the line, and we'll see what happens there. This time I'm going to measure this marker, and it's not flat. So I'm going to try and find ways to make sure it still lines up nicely on my ruler. And one of the ways to do that is to lay your ruler on a flat surface and then put the pen right on top of it. And I can even put the pen right on top of my ruler and looking down on it. That'll help me see that I'm lined up correctly. So I have this right on my ruler, and it's nicely lined up with the edge of my ruler, not at an angle, right? And I put the end of my pen cap right on 0. And then I look at the other end, and I can even use this pointer to kind of line up against the edge, and I know exactly where the end is. And it is at 2 lines in front of the 14. So the end of my pen was right here. So how do I read that? It's not quite at 14, so it's not correct to say that my pen was 14 centimeters. It's not that long. It goes to this point. So we go to the number before it. So my pen is 13, and then I count these lines, which are millimeter lines. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is the big one, 6, 7, 8. It was right on that line. So my pen is 13.8 centimeters long. And actually, it was right on the line for 13.8. So I should say 13.80. So people know that it was right on the line and not just past the line. Okay, I'm going to measure one more thing that's not straight at all. I'm going to measure my owl pellet that I weighed the mass of before. And this time I'm going to use a tape measure. I could have used a tape measure to measure the size of the box. I could have used a tape measure to measure this as well. I just decided to use different tools. This time I'm going to use this. Remember, it's a tool, science tool, so it does tell us right there that it's measured in centimeters. So the big numbers are centimeters, and the little lines on this side are millimeter lines, or we represent those with a decimal point. And remember how I had to look at this ruler and say, oh, we don't line up right with the edge because that's not 0. All our tools are different, and when I look at this one, I can see that it was made so that this is the 0 mark. So in this case, I am going to line up things right with the edge of my ruler. And you have to check. You can't just assume that it is all the tape measures will be this way or all the rulers will be the other way. So I'm going to lay it flat. And because it's an irregular object, I'm going to set it right on top of my ruler. And again, I'm going to look down at it and make sure that this edge is lined up right with the edge of my owl pellet is lined up right with the edge of my ruler. And then I'm going to look down, and I'm going to use my pointer thing again, and I'm going to say that it lines up with this line right here. So let me see if I can point this out to you. All right. Now see if you can tell me what that measurement is. 4.6. And since it was right on the line, 4.60. How did I get the 6? It was lined right up with that line. I think you can see it. Here you can see it. So that was 4 and then 6 little tiny marks. So 4.60 centimeters. All right, you're going to see in your OneNote notes that it also talks about how to express that measurement in millimeters. So take a look at that. That's important to know as well. But the most important thing is that you are positioning your tools correctly, that everything is lined up, that you're looking down when you're reading the measurement tool, and that you are careful and go slow. Start over if you mess up. If your thing slips and you need to line things up again, that's better. It's better to be accurate than to be fast. Okay, and it takes practice, like lots of practice, like years of practice. So don't expect that you're going to be awesome at measuring on day one. You'll get better and you'll get better and you'll get better. It's a good life skill to have. All right, See you in the next video.